let the audience decide what we want to use
Yep.
for our ratings.
And we'll do stars today. Yeah, and we'll just do.
Yeah, okay. You got it right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're
I
good.
apologize.
This is why we are a partnership and a team, my friend. That is what
All
we
right.
are here for. No, we're good. We're good. So yeah, we'll just do them as stars today, since that's what everybody knows. Keeps it easy because it's really the number that matters the most anyway.
Right.
But there should be a lot of different rankings from different matches and different things for this one, because there were some, spectacular matches and maybe some not so spectacular matches. But it kicked off with what we expected to. I thought that was great too, that before the WrestleMania kickoff show on Friday, we'd already recorded our episode and what we thought was going to at least lead off both shows. And we were right about both nights. I thought that was kind of cool,
Yeah, it seemed obvious, didn't it?
To me, I thought so, especially for Jay. I wasn't 100% on the. I thought there'd be a chance that the women's triple threat on night 2 could be like the match before the main event, but I always feel like they do a cool off. You have a big heating match to start it off, and then a little bit of a cool down, and then before the main event, you have a little bit of a cool down usually too, to kind of get people ready, because it's a lot, So YEETLEMANIA kicked us off, though. I thought it was a fun match. It was a great entrance. You knew Jay was going to have something. I thought it was smart to get it wasn't even just I wanted to call them the Oakland, but no, the Vegas Raiders. It wasn't just their cheerleaders; they had their whole hype team that they have, but they kept running around the field with the flags and everything. But it was all Jay related. I thought that was great. Gunther looked like Gunther, like for his entrance. It was Imperium, simple but well stated. I thought it was a great match. I knew it would be. I'm willing to forgive some of the flashier stuff inside the Jay, but I thought he really kind of put out his best foot forward and tried to give his best performance. It really was a great match. I thought I didn't really see much in between. Granted, I was really hyped up and kind of pumped up that Mania was starting, but what'd you think of it?
I picked Gunther, but I knew in the back, I knew in the front of my mind Jay was going to win. But I was happy. It was a good match. What I didn't like. There's a lot of, you're going to hear this a lot from me probably. I didn't like the finish that much. I have no problem with Gunther tapping. I had a problem with Gunther tapping so quickly.
Yeah,
unless they're telling the story like he was afraid or something, then I left it open a little bit. I wasn't sure.
The only thing, so I agree with you to a lot of that point, because I thought it was a quick tap too. But then when I thought about it a little bit, I remember that happened one other time. I don't know if you saw it, was when Gunther, I think it was actually when he went up to the main roster, he lost the NXT title to Ilya Dragunov. And it was a similar story where Dragunov couldn't beat Gunther, and, the size difference and everything. And he tapped Gunther out in that match. But it was the same kind of thing. Like, I think it's almost more to the point of, like Gunther knows, oh no, I'm not going to be able to get out of this. There's no point in fighting, so I'm just going to tap.
I wasn't sure.
Other day. That's the way I'm taking it, to kind of give it a positive spin for me, just because of what they've shown before. But I definitely felt like it was a bit quick as well. They went right to it, but
yeah, because that went from a 3-star to a 2 3/4 star just because of that. But
I get you.
For me.
That's fair. I'm going with a nice full 3 on that one. I thought it was good, but it was definitely. I think it's almost more of like an MMA kind of influence, because you see that a lot of times in MMA where like once something's locked in, the guy's like, nope, I'm not getting out of it, so they tap. That was the way I kind of took it, but
I got no problem with that.
Yeah. But I thought overall it was a good match. And then speaking down to, like I said, you have a great fire kickoff that really gets the fans into it, and then a match that cools them down a little bit. Not that it's so much that cools them down, but just a match that's good and was fine for what it is. But this wasn't ever going to be a show stealer. Nobody had this on their bingo card of possible, show stealing match of the night or anything like that. But we thought the New Day would win. I mean, it just makes the most sense for their. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. I just figured for their storylines, it was going to matter more. It was going to be what they could do and kind of at least solidify them as heels. Because when they're heels without the belt, just talking about their past, it's kind of like a, what have you done for me lately? But I'd put this match in a solid, even like a 2.25. Like it was a little better than, like, nothing bad happened. No one got hurt. There were some cool spots, but I was still, kind of riding the high from the J win. I thought that was a lot of fun, and seeing the crowd and all of that.
Yeah, I picked the War Raiders, and I was off my 0-2 start here. But I this match was what it was. But I think when they did the New Day heel turn, they had like a 2-week window there to really make that mean something, and they kind of let it slide by.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one of those things. The thing was, I think
it was right there.
I'm not. I'm almost wondering if they didn't expect it to get over as well as it did. You know, like I mean, everybody loves Big E, but that was heat to a level that you rarely ever see. You know,
right.
and it's surprising that he didn't capitalize it because I feel like that's kind of one of the traits of this current regime is that if they get a moment or a chance to jump on something, they're gonna take advantage of it because it's there.
Right. Yeah.
But it's kind of similar almost to what happened with Otis and Gable, where like there was a point where the fans were behind Otis and we wanted to see him crush Gable, and it just never.
They just pushed each other.
Right? Yeah. They it was kind of like a middle school fight where hold me back, bro, hold me back. You know, no, seriously, dude, hold me back, man. I don't want to fight him. Like it was kind of like that as opposed to. But I mean, this match was fine. Was what it was. You know,
I gave it a 2.
Yeah. I kind of think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the SmackDown titles for the 4-way for that one. But people were saying that match should have been on Mania. That's why I brought it up. I lost my train of thought for a second, but I think that was Triple H is very big on the Raw after Mania, the Raw after or the SmackDown after Mania. Really, just the shows after the PLEs in general. They're trying to keep the momentum going, and so that's a big draw in that sense. So. The next match is the one I did very well in my picks for night 1. I went 6-1, but my one was this one. I definitely thought Naomi was going to win to further that heel story and that she was going to get help winning somehow, but they just had Jade come out and smash her, which was a good match. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I thought both entrances were a little cheesy, but that happened sometimes with Mania. The whole weather thing was pretty silly, but was what it was. I mean, I'm assuming that weatherman is a very popular weatherman in Las Vegas.
Jim Cantori, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I was looking for like Al Roker or somebody, but it was what it was. It was fine. I mean, the match wasn't anything super special, but I thought Jade looked good. You can tell she's been working her tail off in the PC, and Naomi's just a pro. Like Naomi really proves that she can really can wrestle with anyone and make anybody look good. And, maybe she'll get a title run again one day, or maybe a mid-card title run would probably be better suited for her. But, she's, you hate to say it because I feel like it's gotten a bad rap these days, but a good hand. That's not a bad thing. So not everybody can be the star player on the team, but you need somebody to bat 7th, 8th, and 9th and play, and play second base or right field. Those are still important positions. It's just not as important.
Yeah. I liked this match. It was all right. I gave it a 2, but I don't know. It's hard to describe it. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting just a straight match. I was expecting stuff, and I don't know what it was. It's so weird.
Yeah, because they didn't present that there was going to be anything, but I 100% did as well. Even if obviously I had said that I thought, and I still think that Bianca's eventually going to turn heel and possibly align with the Street Profits or something, but I just thought she was going to be still aligned with Naomi at wherever it goes, and so either she was going to come out and help, but like try to be in like a hoodie and hidden, or maybe they were going to like have, I thought it'd be smart to maybe have Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, since they're probably going to come up from NXT soon, have the 4 of them be a faction and those 2 come out and help Naomi. And it seems like Naomi is the leader of the group, but then it turns out that Bianca is, but is what it is. I don't think that's, I think Naomi will try to make some sort of comeback, and I doubt the feud is fully over. It might be, though, but I'm just not sure what would be next for Jade within that sense. I kind of feel like it should be a good way to have her feud and have good matches, but a 2 is exactly where I put this match as well.
I think Naomi is this year's Liv Morgan. Ooh,
no, that makes perfect sense. Because I don't think there's anybody who raised their stock more in 2024 than Liv Morgan. Exactly. With where she was at the start of the year, she wasn't. I mean, I know she just came back from injury, but she wasn't even on Mania last year. And then, she had that amazing title run. That's a good shout. I like that. Especially if Bianca becomes like the teams of Naomi, obviously she's the the bigger star of the group, but I would honestly rather see Naomi kind of be into that position and see what she can do. Because if nothing else, this feud really proved that she's got more chops than people thought. Acting
I didn't
chops.
think I didn't think she'd be adapting to the heel persona as well as she has been, and it's been fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. She's another one. There's certain people that kind of prove how good they are by leaving. The Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, and she's a good example where spending that year in TNA really proved like in the show that of what she can do and that she's a professional. I think that's maybe one of the reasons why. There's been the partnerships and different things they're doing with TNA, and we'll talk about them with AAA here in a moment. But the next match, which was mostly, I say, what we expected, I kind of thought it'd be a little bit more of a squash match, but Jacob Fatu beating the snot out of LA Knight and becoming the U.S. champion just makes sense. I got a little concerned when Solo came out with him at the beginning. I think I thought the only way Jacob could lose would be if Solo either accidentally messed it up or not so much accidentally messed it up and cost him the match. But, Fatu goes over. I mean, I would say I would put this match as a good solid 2.5. Like, it wasn't anything special, but it wasn't anything bad by any means. And Jacob Fatu has got the rocket ship on his back and heading forward.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, I liked it. I like Jacob Fatu's athleticism, and
I love it.
Watching him work's amazing. I also gave it a 2.5.
Wait, it's cool to see like those moments. There's those few little moments where they try to stay in character, but there was a couple of times in his eyes when he was walking down the aisle where he could just see him like, holy shit, I've made it. Like, wow.
There was a lot of that going on.
There was, and I feel like that's something that might have been kind of shuffled under the rug a bit about this Mania, was that this Mania really set up to build for the future. You got a lot of stars that are a lot of talent that have either their first Mania or their first Mania win or their first title. This guy got all three in one match. There was a lot of cool stuff from it for sure. I definitely enjoyed it. So, so next we had, which I do this picture up with it because I thought this was the kind of the coolest part of it, was the Phoenix and El Grande Americano, who's not Chad Gable. This is one of the things that we texted offline, and I kind of wish I had posted it on Twitter because you sent me something in the morning of, it looks like Ray's really hurt from SmackDown, and I think it is a legitimate injury. People were saying that maybe it was a work to get Phoenix on the card, but they didn't have any special entrance for Phoenix. I think it was just kind of he was the perfect substitute, and it was a great moment for him to be in the match. But you
could tell they had nothing ready for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they weren't
production wise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, his entrance was his entrance. There wasn't anything special to it at all. Even people who had basically their regular entrance still had some sort of flavor to it. But the reason I used this picture was, we'll pull it back a little bit and time cop us a little bit there for what happened during the pre-show when they announced that WWE, and really it's really TKO acquiring it, but it sounds better that WWE acquired AAA, the Mexican Federation, which, I mean, if you'd have told people last year that after Mania ends last year, that on next year's WrestleMania, we would have not only Jacob Fatu, but Phoenix would have a match, Penta would have a match, and they wouldn't be in the same match. And then Vikingo would be on WWE TV. He kicked Gable in the head. I mean, he completed a move at WrestleMania and was standing in a WrestleMania ring. Like, what world do we live in?
He is one small individual.
He's so small.
Yeah,
like
I didn't realize he was that small.
I didn't either. I'm glad you said that because I actually had thought that and I'd forgotten about it because it happened so early in the weekend. But I thought it because I know when he wrestled, even in like TNA or ROH or AEW, wherever, there's not as many large guys. And usually if he's wrestling, he's not going to be wrestling any massive. When he was standing, like, I mean, Andrade like cleared him by a foot and a half standing behind him. The picture with Triple H, I don't know if you noticed, but the pointing picture of Triple H, like they kind of did it at a down angle so Triple H doesn't look like his father because he's so much bigger than him. Yeah. But I mean,
how about the lady owner from AAA? Oh my God, did she move at all?
I don't think her face has moved since 1999. I'm pretty
a couple
sure.
Times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that like that's just where it is. Her face just doesn't move. Like that was
hilarious.
Yeah, that was one of those ones too, because she was also on the pre-show portion of it. So that was where I first saw her, and I just put the pre-show on and was doing stuff around the house. And you walk by the screen, go, "Whoa, gee, what is that?" Oh, okay, it's just a human with plastic surgery. Yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But this
Back
match,
to the match.
We thought it made sense to have a Grande Americano win, and that was before the AAA announcement. Like clearly, he's going to be a part of that stuff with AAA, and they're going to at least do something with that. That'll be very entertaining and fun to watch. And then they announced that they're doing Money in the Bank and the AAA NXT Worlds Collide both in LA on the same day.
That's interesting.
That's one of those things where like. I lived in LA for a while, and I know where the two arenas are. And yes, technically, you can get from one to the other because they're selling some combo tickets after NXT ends and before Money in the Bank starts. But with LA traffic, like, it's a Saturday, but that doesn't matter. They'll make it, but barely. Like that's anybody who does that, I give props to. That's going to be one hell of a day.
Yeah, this overall though, I thought. It was entertaining for what it was, and I went with a solid 2.
I went with a 2.5. I said 2, but just mostly because I feel like they didn't have time to really put anything together. And I know Phoenix speaks English, but it's his second language, and they kind of had to put it together quickly. And I thought for what it was a great match and entertaining. And that was definitely it was and really cool for him to get his first ever Mania moment and I saw the little backstage thing they had with him and Triple H. That was great. So the penultimate match was the coronation of Tiffany. Tiffany Stratton was she was already on the map, but this solidified her. We thought that was what it would be. This would be the match that makes her a star, but it also like made her a star of the pretty girl takes a beating. I mean, I purposely chose this picture because of the goose egg on her forehead and. There's some consternation of it. Did she get her tooth chipped, or is it dried blood? I mean, either way, she took a shot in the mouth, and that was pretty. She hung in there, and she was able. And it was a stiff match, and it was what it needed to be, and she got the win. And she's a star. I mean, she's been on the main roster since Elimination Chamber of last year. That's a hell of a 14 months. Woo! Good for her, though. I was impressed with the match. I would give this one. I would say this match was a solid 3 for me. I really enjoyed it. It was what it needed to be. There wasn't going to be anything super crazy special. Nobody was going to do Poison Rana off the top to the outside through a table or anything. But this match was what it needed to be.
I picked Charlotte, as you know,
right,
and it was kind of weird. This is the only match that I've actually heard people talk about. I've been trying to stay away from listening to people, but this one I've actually heard people. This one I've actually heard people. Our good friend Don from the Spaces episode was talking about this one. He was not happy towards Charlotte. Thought she sandbagged and did a couple other things. Now I watched everything twice. I watched it all again before we recorded, and I don't know. It was just it was what they wanted you to think it was. Like you said, it was a stiff match.
Yeah.
Which it seemed like that was the plan. I'm not going to go with all the hubbub about Charlotte. Charlotte does what Charlotte does, and we get it.
Right. And I honestly think that's something that they play into a bit. Like they, obviously they're smart enough to know what's being said, whether they say they watch, they don't really fully care. They're not going to book based on online perceptions, but they know what the perceptions are, and they feed into things here and there a bit, which is why I said from their exchange in the ring a few weeks ago that everyone's like, oh, it was 100% a shoot. Like, no, they were shooting, but in a working fashion. Like they knew, and maybe certain things like maybe Charlotte said, hey, if you cross this line, I'm going to get pissed. And that's why when Tiffany said that line about the divorces, she bailed, but I feel like it was worked as well as it should be. And really, this kind of showed Tiffany's toughness in the end of it. Like, she doesn't just come off as just a pretty face. Like, it was almost like she came into the match as Barbie, but kind of left as G.I. Tiffy almost, you know, not fully clearly, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like it. I mean, I liked it. And when I watched it the second time, I had more questions than I had the first time. So I had a rating of 2, then I had a rating of 2.5, and then I had a rating of 2 again. And then I left it at 2.25.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, sounds like you're right in that 2.25 range. That was why. It's funny, the other match where I gave it that quarter, that was the reason why. I wasn't sure between the two, and I'm like, all right, we're going to split the difference. So
I just wasn't sure if it was meant to be clunky or was meant to not to be clunky. I couldn't tell, and that was bothering me. So
yeah, well, and I mean that's one of the beauties of the art of wrestling is sometimes it's more it when it looks like a struggle, sometimes they want it to be, and sometimes there are times where people just don't click and it's a shit match. But I was happy with what it was. Also, I mean, I can fully admit it. I was a few whiskeys deep by this point. I mean, it was a long show and we were having fun, but I'm glad that it came out the way it did too, because there were so many people, and one of my biggest complaints about the IWC is that nobody has any patience. And there were so many people that were like, "Oh, Charlotte's gonna bury Tiffany. There's no way Charlotte's doing the job at WrestleMania," acting like she never had. Like, she didn't lose her last WrestleMania match at 39. Like, so I'm glad it went the way it did, and I'll be curious to see what the fallout is on SmackDown, and then what they're gonna do with Tiffany moving forward. Because I mean, she's clearly, at this point now, I feel like a baby face, but we'll see. I thought some other people were moving into the baby face territory that didn't at different points. So the next match, which was the main event, and we got to start with everybody's entrances were cool, but no one's cooler than CM Punk's with having Living Color out there with him and play him to the ring. And the fact that song came out in 89 or 90 and it still sounds as good as it does, and they're one of those bands that haven't had 17 different members. There wasn't like a guitar player who was 6 when that song came out. Like, that's the same guys in the same band. And
yeah, they look old, but they sound.
Exactly. Yeah, which I always feel like is that's the sign of a true artist. They're hey, it's not about how we look here. I'm not trying to present to you like I'm still the same guy I was, but I can play like I am. And that was one of the few things that I kind of had guaranteed. I thought for this year was that Living Color would play Punk to the ring. That just made sense with how, what was it, 2011 when he got that song as his song? And it's been, he took it to AEW. There was the story with him going back to WWE where they'd gotten the call and when they declined it. And he's like, no, guys, it's for me. Go back and re-record it. And when we're going to use it, it's for me.
Yeah, I've seen them live before, but I've also seen Vernon Reid at a guitar festival.
Oh, wow.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's very talented. I saw them once at a festival 12, 13, or 14. Those three years I went to like 3 different music festivals in different cities because I was young and silly, but it was fun. It was absolutely worth it. But this match, we talked about it going in the preview show. It seemed like the storyline was going to have Heyman turn on both Roman and Punk to align with Seth. And yes, that's what happened, but the execution was awesome. It was done so well. It makes sense. It's going to be fun. As we've seen in a little bit of the fallout, like, we're getting real jerky heel Heyman back, which I absolutely love. That's just fun. That's Heyman at his absolute best. And, I think that also going to lead into more of a serious Seth Rollins, which is phenomenal. We both like serious Seth versus Joker Seth.
Yes, we do.
I still kind of, it seems like they haven't fully dropped the freaking yet. I wish they would, because I feel like the freaking is the crazy Seth. Like, Seth freaking Rollins is the psycho and wearing the crazy stuff. Seth Rollins, this guy, this is better. Like, this is the guy who you believe actually can be a world champion and defend it. And with Heyman at his side, it's just going to be amazing. And we'll get into Raw when we get into Raw, but as we've seen, they're already off on a great foot with the two of them together. I'm very excited where that's going to lead.
Yeah, previous to all the shenanigans at the end, this was actually a real good match up until all that.
Great.
It was fun.
that was the other thing I was going to say. This match was phenomenal. Like, and we've talked about it before. Like, we're not the biggest fans of three-ways because usually it's kind of contrived of, how somebody's out of it. I thought it started off great where the three of them stand there and Punk's like, screw you guys, you two guys fight, which ties back into, I don't know if we've talked about it yet, but that amazing video package for the three of them.
We talked
about the metal music. Yeah, that. And I mean, the first thing Punk says in that video package is, well, these two guys, it's all personal. I'm just here on business. And I thought that really put a nice little pin or a bow in that little set part of it. And then the way they've knocked it, the way they did it where Punk and Seth go to the outside and they're fighting with the aluminum trash cans. That was fun. And then Roman comes out of nowhere. Like, the whole thing was it was very, very enjoyable. And even the finish, like, you kind of knew it was coming, but they threw you a couple different swerves. When Heyman throws the chair in there, that it's going to be going to, it's going to go to Punk, but he's going to turn on him. And then when he's with Roman, you're waiting for the turn and you think maybe he's not going to, and then he points him at Seth and gets behind it. And it's just like when Cena gave that look to The Rock, you just go, uh-oh, and start doing the point at the like the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, wait, hang on. So I thought it was very well done. It was what it needed to be, because we know Roman's probably going to go away for a bit like he does. Maybe Punk and Rollins have another feud, or maybe Rollins just goes for the belt. I'm not sure. I still think that, this version of Rollins would be a great feud for Jey Uso as champion. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was funny because all match I had this rated a 3, and I'm sitting there talking to myself going, please don't screw up the ending and make it a 2. Please don't screw up the ending and make it a 2. And they didn't screw up the ending, and so I kept it. This was a solid 3 for me.
So okay, no, I will. I'm gonna, because I was expecting it, but the execution was still good for me. I was the other way. I was at 3 and 3.5. I'm gonna go up to a 4 though. This match was really, really good. I really enjoyed it, and I haven't watched back everything yet, but I did go back and rewatch this match, and yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was, and it's one of those things too. Maybe in hindsight, if this storyline doesn't play out so well, but I felt like it's set up. Not only the match was great, but they're set themselves up for an amazing year ahead of them with this team and how it's going to go. I'm still fingers crossed for Dangerous Alliance 2.0 2025 edition, where they just get a small group around Heyman that he gets to control, but we shall see. But
that was, we discussed Raw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was going to say,
we have night 2 to do yet.
I know, there's so much. That was why I'm glad we got to get this in today, because there's so much to talk about. But yeah, that was night 1. Great show. Great show overall. I try to separate WrestleMania as a whole, but no matter what happens on any of it, the nights and the individual matches, like for what it was, that was a great show. And I feel like with last year, night 1 was good, but some of the matches didn't quite deliver. And then you obviously had the baby faces losing in the main event. And that was where I kind of thought this one, people are like, it's a bad guy winning main event. I'm like, but none of the three of them. I mean, Seth was the most heel and comes out as a heel at the end, but all three of them kind of, the fans cheer literally for everybody. They sing Seth's song, they chant OTC, they chant CM Punk. Like, we like all three of those guys, really. And Heyman, I want him on every show possible, because you can never get enough Paul Heyman, even at that size.
Yeah. So the first night I watched this with a couple of friends, and I wasn't at home. And they're not really not huge wrestling fans, so it was interesting. This is what I wanted to be. I wanted to see the reactions of people. Their favorite two matches were the first one and the last one.
Which that's
so, and they don't know a whole lot, and they're not by any chance in the bubble or nothing like that. And it was great.
They're like legitimate casuals.
It was great to be sitting there. Trust me.
That's awesome. No, that's really, really cool, because that's, it's hard to think outside of I mean, I don't like to say we're in the bubble because we try to be a little bit smarter than the bubble, but let's be real, we're in the bubble. Any of us who watch every show week to week, we are more consumers, we're more diehards than the casuals. But everybody knows this is the time of year the casuals come back in, so it's cool to see that. And really, if you're gonna have your casuals watching, you want to start them off hot and then end it with something that makes them want to come back or gets them intrigued or whatever. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, they had no idea CM Punk went anywhere. Like they thought he was just gone.
Right.
They didn't know where he went. They have no idea what AEW even is. That's no offense. That's no offense to them guys, but
right. But that's just the world.
Way it is.
Like, yeah, I mean that's where the companies really are. Obviously as wrestling fans, we think they're closer because technically, yes, AEW is the number 2 promotion, but it's one of those things where even if they're on the same track, WWE's lapped them a few different times now. Yeah, but that's why.
Wrong with that. But
no, but that and hell, I want AEW should dive more into that, not worry about being competition and just be the best they can be. And hey, look what happened in 1997. WWE put the best they could be, or was it 98 when they finally took it? 97's when the shows really got good, but it was 98 when they really took over. But still, no, I thought it was great, and that was our night 1 review.